timer says 4 minutes. I'm already running late. This is becoming a habit and I can't allow it. Okay. I'm starting right now. Ta-da! Eventually. Hello, everybody. Let me lower this music a little bit. I'll let it play in the background. Hello, everybody. If you're stumbling across this stream, thanks. Really appreciate it. I am not new to streaming, but I'm new for 2022 as a steady state every day until further notice. And I hope that you dig this. It's somewhat of a vamping on the fly, not too serious discussion about news and technology and society. And I've noticed that it isn't a trending up kind of environment on Twitch to be talking about at least politics. It's growing kind of like a tidal wave. And I have a hard time taking anything too seriously, at least at this stage. Maybe at another date. Oh, let me move that back. At some other date, things will be more serious. But now, what I'd like to talk about is really the news that ohmTown.com ingests. And we have these little groups. So at least for a little bit, until there are more people coming into chat and more people logging into ohmTown.com and so on, I'd like to kind of reiterate what ohmTown is and who I am and you know, why I'm doing this. And it's really all about the fact that I consume just a massive amount of information across a broad spectrum of things. And I have experience in multiple fields, and I've, well, I don't know what to say other than I like talking about three primary things, which is business, technology, and society. There's entire college departments that talk about science and technology. And I don't think that it should be limited to the college experience, right? So I'm actually getting a new keyboard. Because you can hear my mechanical keyboard. And even as I've fine-tuned the gate on my mixer, I still have suddenly started picking up the mechanical keyboard more. And I don't know. I use a split keyboard, and it's behind my mic, and I've got sound deadening stuff behind me and on the walls around me, not on the ceiling yet, but you know, I guess it's going to come to that as I try and reduce the external sound. But at any rate, one of the things that like Stanford, for instance, has science, technology, and society it's a thing. And I love the idea of this merging of these things to create a holistic understanding of just how pervasive science and technology is on society, and being cognizant of it, and not just assuming that when you pick up a phone, and surf the web that you're a subject matter expert in the use of all technology. This is an ongoing debate where I am, and the implication is that you can go into a field of study and you'll receive enough understanding of technology. I don't quite agree with that philosophy. I think that everyone needs to be more aware than less aware of technology and society. For instance, one of the things that I do is I give a presentation about cybersecurity. And while people are talking, I'm cloning their access points. And I use a device that anybody can get, right? You can go and buy it. It's like $350 or something. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but not too expensive, not regulated. I don't think it should be regulated. I think anybody should be able to get this device and test their own systems and noodle around with it to become aware of what somebody can use to exploit those who do not know. And it shouldn't become a political discussion. It shouldn't become anything more than maybe an ethical discussion. But it's a point that, like I had mentioned in a previous stream, the criminals that might use this device wouldn't care about regulation anyway. And the implication of using this device is that if you use it and exploit somebody with it, it is a federal crime. It's not just a slap on your wrist kind of a thing. You might get caught by somebody that's willing to give you a slap on the wrist, but it's a federal crime. But I would have the ability to manipulate your internet, your Wi-Fi stream of information to the point where I can obtain all kinds of information about you. And how do you prevent it? Awareness. So that's what one of the things is when we talk about this tech and society. We raise awareness. And I think that everybody needs a baseline understanding and a hint that you should continue to learn, not just about the latest features on your iPhone or your Android device or your computer or your tablet or whatever it might be, but a real understanding of the other side of things, what somebody can do to abuse tech and leverage it against society. In fact, without putting the political tilt on this, more than 8 years ago, I started giving a presentation really, about technology and society, wherein I ask the audience, each time I do this, I ask the audience, what could I do using technology to cause the biggest impact on society? And I would be peppered with things like, well, I can hack a car, or I can shut down the power grid, or manipulate the water supply, or something like that. And in all of those cases, it's largely hyper-localized in the grand global scheme of things, right? And now I have to preface this that I don't go into the politics of it, and I don't pick a side in the politics of it, because that's not my intent. At this stage of the game, my politics don't matter. but my knowledge and experience do in a discussion. And so I say to the audience members, okay, well, you have presented me with hyper localized impacts, right? You hack a car, big deal. You may impact a family or something like that. I'm not saying that that isn't a big deal to them, but to the rest of the planet, not so much. I can be empathic, sympathetic, compassionate, etc. about it and say that it's wrong, and I agree is wrong, the bad thing, and you are performing a criminal action to hack a car, and it's instantly a federal thing, not just a local criminal act. Well, I counter with, well, what happens if I impugn the integrity of the election by suggesting and showing that I can hack a voting machine and that I can manipulate the data in transit? And I give an example because you can actually see it. Now, with the proper oversight, nobody would have access to materials, to equipment, and nor would they have time or be alone with said equipment. Well, lo and behold, about 7 years later, that's exactly what happens. People start talking about the election being manipulated electronically, and statements like, well, at 3 o'clock in the morning, there was a massive influx of votes. Well, demonstrably, that is when everything was parsed or imported from repositories elsewhere, because that's how staging data works. It doesn't necessarily immediately go into a public display. We stage information in various locations so that we can audit it and protect it and verify it. And then we can import it into a centralized location. But it's after it's been parsed. It's after it's been vetted. It's after it's been processed. But it seems absurd that this takes place, and that's just not the reality of it. We don't always feed directly into a system. You have to make sure that it's valid data. Otherwise, that's where you end up with the impugned election integrity. So for a lot of what I think about and what I talk about, I have to meter what I say, because it seems like a lot of it comes true, and I really don't want it all to come true. Because one of the areas that I work in is cybersecurity, forensics, digital forensics, investigation. I've done work in all of that, but that's not what I want to talk about more than just that. There are people that are very highly focused on that kind of content. They are by far a better voice, like Krebs. So by all means, tune them in. But I want to be able to have a casual conversation, or even a more focused conversation with people who are curious, but don't necessarily think that they're the smartest person in the room. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I am doing with ohmTown. There's a bunch of categories. My aggregator grabs news from various locations and pulls them into ohmTown's front page. Each one of these goes to a group and a community. I just opened this up to the public on the 1st. It has existed as my private news gathering source for 7+ years, 8 years. I at one point in my academic pursuits, I took 6 months off to implement a personal project of mine, which was to start up 100 businesses in a year. And I was able to get to 85 before I reached the pinnacle of where my expenditures were brushing up against what I was comfortable with. And then I was told I was going to be a dad. So I put the kibosh on the rest of that project and focused on family and the rest of my education. So I've watched various people talk about what they've done, where they come from, etc. But I've never disclosed what my education is. So currently I have an MBA. My focus has been strategic management consulting and entrepreneurship. I help people bring their ideas to fruition. I help people solve their business concerns. I also have a master's in information technology with a focus on information security. I have a master's in digital forensics and cyber investigation. I have a associate's degrees, one in business, which just led to the master's degree, and one in sociology. And I'm actually working one on a pre-law paralegal degree right now. So that's where I come from academically. Professionally, I have started a multitude of businesses, starting prior to being 18. My first fully under my control business was when I turned 18, and I launched the first free internet service from my 2-bedroom apartment, and ultimately got headhunted into a company. And after a considerable amount of negotiations, we were supposed to spin up this thing nationwide. It actually started, and then the company that headhunted me put the kibosh on it, killed the project dead. And so from that point on, I chose to not let anybody have control over my future. And I promote the same ideology to everybody. So under no circumstances should you put all of your eggs in one basket and assume that you are safe in that nest. Because without a doubt, somebody can come along and just say no and nix your livelihood. So with that in mind, the idea that I'm promoting really when I talk to people about business in particular is to focus on what is important. And that really is to make a minimum viable product. And you can go into keyword bingo here, or buzzword bingo, and you create a minimum viable product. You get it out there, you iterate, you provide superior services to people, and you keep getting better faster. And if you rely on patents and trademarks and all of that kind of stuff to keep yourself viable, then you're going to end up, unless you have a golden goose of some kind that's pumping out money, you're going to end up being legally challenged constantly by people. So if you do have something patentable, you can try to patent it. It'll be, if it's a product that actually has legs, it'll probably be cloned internationally in a heartbeat. Copyrights are only as good as the money that chases after them. And trademarks are probably the only thing that is pretty cut and dry. Like if you have a trademark, you have to select the category it's in. And people can't use that same mark in that same category, but you can grow your business until it becomes world famous. And so nobody can ever use Nike for shoes or other things because it is so world famous. That said, that's my area. That's where I focus. And that's why I combine business, technology, and society. And under all of that umbrella is the ethics of society, the ethics of business, the ethics of tech. And so there's a little taste of law in there. There's a little taste of society, sociology in there. But it's a lot of business and it's a lot of tech. And so if you are interested in that kind of thing, I'm happy to discuss it. So feel free to ask questions in chat. And if you are watching the VOD, then come on back. I'm going to try and stream every day. I'm going to stream every day from 6 o'clock until at least 7, at least for now. Been running a little late pretty much every day since I started, but I make up for it on the other side by running a little bit longer. So feel free to ask questions. It can be about pretty much anything. My experience is, I don't know, pretty broad, but I haven't been everywhere and done everything. And so, like I said earlier, I will never understand how somebody can think that they are the smartest person in the room, because there is always somebody smarter, stronger, faster, richer. Well, you know, at some point you're the richest person in the world and you can sit in that room and say that you are. But all of that is fleeting. You know, at some point we're all going to meet our maker, whatever that might be. So if you stumble across the VOD, or if you're in chat right now and you're interested in talking, just understand that I practice a thing called associative thinking, and we start out talking about one thing and we end up somewhere else, and then we come back around and we talk about the original thing in the context of all of the rest of these interrelated concepts, interrelated situations. It's not so cut and dry that you can focus the discussion on just that one thing without pulling it out of the global context, the world context that it exists in. So, you know, you eat peas that you buy from a store, but there is a great number of other things that led to those peas being put in a can or on the shelf for you to purchase fresh or processed or whatever. And that's one of the things that kind of promotes the discussion and allows you to have that thought experiment about just exactly what is our place in the world, outside of, you know, going to bed and waking up and eating and sleeping and going to work and the daily things that we all kind of deal with. So feel free to ask questions, or come back at 6 o'clock the next day and chat. There is always the website. You can sign up, become a citizen of ohmTown. There is the Discord. That is a link that you can follow from the Twitch page and from ohmTown. I have the page on YouTube, but there's nothing there yet. And I'll be adding the VODs to it as time goes on, as I think there might be something interesting in a VOD. But I've already been talking for 30 minutes and I haven't even gone through any of this stuff. So, quite a bit is coming around the corner. There's a lot of stress right now, in the US at least, regarding January 6th, based on what one person, or not one person, one group will say was tourists just strolling through DC, and the others call it insurrectionists. That's tomorrow. The 6th is the anniversary of it. So we'll see what happens. There were, what a weird end of last year, beginning of this year, in that this is the second thing where I've seen something having to do with manuscripts, where a person was publishing books on Amazon, publishing books on Amazon with the names of the people that he eventually shot. Don't even understand what's going on there. And the only thing that would have ever found that is some mass artificial intelligence that would see these names and go, wow, this is really weird that all of these names are focused on this one location, and this guy ended up shooting the place up and killing people. Just really bizarre. I don't think anybody would have ever caught that, but I'm sure it'll end up on a TV show somewhere. More politics. Happy to talk about politics if you're interested. My perspective is kind of different. Well, maybe different. It's a little more measured. I'm not hardcore on either side. I won't say that there's good and bad, but there are individual people. There are individuals within everything that are good and bad. Google fixes nightmare Android bug that stopped user from calling 911. This is a little subgroup called Wanted. It's all about tech and focused on tech that I find particularly interesting. This is just a generic ingest of information, so I'm not actually curating these other than obtaining the information from the sources. So don't assume that because it's listed, it is something that I am adamantly approving. It is just ingested by my system. CDC panel recommends Pfizer boosters. This is the COVID-19 boosters for children aged 12 to 15. A lot of people kind of freak out that children are getting the vaccine because we don't know what the long-term implications are of the vaccine on children. But a lot are getting the vaccine and it's been tested, and if you suspect it's not true, then that's one thing. And largely nobody will ever cure that. Because you might suspect it as being faulty, and no amount of science is going to change that perspective. But you've got millions upon millions of people that are getting the vaccine, so hopefully everything is good. Of course, I could use a tail, so if I've got a tail, then I can jump and balance much better than I can right now, so that would be cool. We'll see. Activision Blizzard shows no sign of giving in as Raven QA strike enters third week. This is an ongoing thing. Already in 2022. I don't know if we'll ever learn our lessons. I watched last night a historical context of the Mongolian Empire's rise and fall And one of the things that they always took exception to was if somebody killed the messengers, right? So if you kill the envoy, basically the Mongolian Empire would just kind of roll through your country and take over everything. And we just don't learn our lessons. Just treat everybody with respect, and don't be don't be a sociopath. I mean, we're all part of a society, but for whatever reason, a microcosm of abuse happens in the dark, and then somebody shines the light, and the person who was shining the light suddenly is marginalized, vilified, even criminalized, and quote unquote brought to justice for exposing the abuse. I just don't understand it. Abuse should not be rewarded. Abuse should not be accepted. So if there's abuse somewhere and society at large rises up against it, then so be it. Change what's wrong. Fix what's wrong. Because if you were the one that's being abused, you would want that understanding as well. You would want that compassion. You would want that sympathy. So just fix it. It really should be that easy. Let's see what else is going on. So I think yesterday I was talking about things around here. I might have actually ended up over here. This is day 5. So the create category is focused on the maker aspect of things. Breaking Prose is about writing. Bead Baby is about beads and findings and actually making them and the people. I'm looking for somebody who would be interested in either hosting this or those who want to be on camera or at least by voice. Dial in. We can talk about the items that you make. I'm not the one that's making this stuff. But I find value in it. I find it fascinating that people can make this stuff, and it's little spheres and other things that are considered beads, and it can be highly complex and just pretty neat to look at. So maybe if you are interested, then let somebody know, and they can come and get interviewed and have a discussion about their product, and we can talk about it and highlight it in that dead space up there above chat. World Builders is about creating RPG worlds, map making and things like that. And so I've always been a fan of World Builders. I may end up changing this because I know of an organization called World Builders, and I may end up changing this or just excising it entirely, but we shall see. And Reality Hacker is about manipulation of photos and video and sound and so on. I gave examples of it in the very first VOD that I've that's published right now on ohmTown on Twitch. Give it a look. Warcrafters, Tabletop Nights. Constructagon is about 3D printing. Aerith is a storybook world, and jewel crafting is similar to Bead Baby, except that it's about jewelry across a broader expanse. So have you ever played Wordle? Give it a shot. Let's see, what would be interesting? Dead by Daylight. That's kind of interesting. Interesting. The Cannibal was added to Dead by Daylight in the Leatherface DLC released in 2017. He has the ability to unlock the faces of Dead by Daylight's 4 original survivors by sacrificing them 25 times, and can then wear those faces as a grisly cosmetic. I should chop this down more. This is too much of the article. I want to promote, every time I do one of these streams, I want to promote people going to the site and clicking the link, reading the article, and then coming back and voting it up, voting it down, voting it up and making a comment. And that's what I would like to see. So, is this something that you agree with? I think I understand why they would remove the material based on the concerns of people. But I also understand that this thing it's a cosmetic, which is the cutout face of the person that was sacrificed multiple times. And within that context, the materiality of it, the whole picture of it, is, I understand that it's just part of that game, but it isn't something that was intended to be racist. Unfortunately, we can't have nice things because people will give it the incorrect context. And like I said, things such as abuse happen in the dark. And when somebody shines the light on the dark areas, it can turn into a social movement, but the context is largely lost when it's really a subset of people that are using it for the incorrect purpose. It's behavior that I just don't understand. And because some people abused it, it had to be pulled back. And I understand why they would do it. And I agree that they should do it. But really, it's society that should make sure that the people who are doing this as with a racist intent, they're using this abusive context. It's society that should speak up against it and stop those people from doing it, not necessarily neuter the game, because it isn't the game that's being abused, or I should say abusive. It is the game that's being abused by a select few people. But one of the things that's great about the internet and about technology is that you can actually expose these things to a greater degree. So I hope that we don't allow these abusive people to continue to abuse without some type of repercussion. Shine that light and let it be known that this isn't acceptable behavior. I mean, some people will always just accept. And I suppose that's fine. But you wouldn't allow somebody to abuse you, and you would say something about it. So let's talk about it in chat. If you find my VOD and want to have a conversation about it, happy to discuss it. HTC announces a wrist tracker for Vive Focus 3. the fidelity of VR is always increasing. When I first started in VR, head-mounted displays were massive. I mean, it was like having a CRT on the front of your face, and it needed a cable to hold it and a tether basically suspending it up because it would be too heavy for your face. And the research that I did was in VR treatment of phobias and pain, and it's just fascinating technology. And I hope more manufacturers release wireless VR headsets. And unfortunately, one of the most prolific ones are tied to a service, and I don't want that. I want to be able to purchase my equipment and play a game, and it doesn't have to reach out to let somebody know that I'm playing the damn game. Everything is going to be software as a service and hardware as a service. Just let me play my racing game or my first person shooter with my VR headset without having to ping home that, I sneezed, or the location within my office as I'm playing the game. It's utterly infuriating. And I just don't, I can't abide by that. So, I continue to wait for a wireless headset that I agree with. And if you know of one, and again, you stumble across my VOD, send me a message. If you're already here in chat and you are curious about something and want to ask a question, feel free. But welcome. NVIDIA and AMD are upscaling arms race, and this is just the beginning. Really? I would love to get a 3080, but apparently I have to make a mortgage payment to get it, and so that's kind of tough. I can't justify a 3080 regardless of what I do for fun, for a living, for Twitch streaming. And I've said it in my other VOD and my other streams, I'm going to end up gaming at some point. But I'm interested in having conversations about all of these topics up here. There's quite a bit of them. I would really like both of them really to pick up production a little bit. But I know that even NVIDIA is using some of their own production stuff to spin up GeForce Now. I use GeForce Now. If you've never even heard of GeForce Now, it's basically a remote computer that you can spin up simply by connecting your account to a service like Steam. And in doing so, it tells GeForce Now that you own this piece of software. And so GeForce Now will spin up a virtualized instance of your game. And you don't have to relicense it there. You basically you have a license because you've purchased it via Steam, and it's not playing anywhere else. It's playing there. So it's supposed to be minimal lag. If any lag is detected, when I've played it, there hasn't been anything that I could notice regularly. I've had instances, but I run everything wireless. And if you've never used Wi-Fi 6, which is the latest version of Wi-Fi, then you should check it out. And just look into it. I think that the moment you learn about Wi-Fi 6 and the fact that it can do much more, much faster, you'll want to switch, and pretty much in time, everything is going to switch over to Wi-Fi 6. Like Apple devices are moving to Wi-Fi 6. iPhone, my iPad has Wi-Fi 6 radio. My devices I've upgraded to Wi-Fi 6, and my network is Wi-Fi 6. It's faster, it's more reliable, it has broader communication capabilities. So that kind of removes my need for wires and lowers my ping rate, so I can use a service like GeForce Now and not be impacted by my network not being fast enough to communicate with their network and the interaction across the internet. So there you have it. You should give a look-see at GeForce Now. And this is just one thing. The reason why I brought up GeForce Now is the fact that they're using the processors that would be in a 3080 or 3070, 3060. I think they just released a 3050, or they just announced a 3050, and then of course the 3090, which is probably going to be $2,500. I didn't look into it, but the announcement just had question marks. So when you have question marks around an announcement regarding price, it's going to be pricey, considering the 3080 is $1,500 or something like that. Yeah. You can't even get them from anywhere except a scalper, and then you're paying a premium price over that. And around me, I know of one person personally that has a 3090, and I think he paid something like $2,500 for it. Pretty wild. And it's more than the system that it's connected to. And in this category, because there's so many different things, you can just scroll by and see something that you're interested in. Obviously, there was a problem with the ingesting of data here, so I'll be cleaning that up. But there are 50 discussions typically in this homepage for each category. So news. A lot is being pulled into Mobile. Mobile is basically a news aggregation page, general discussion. It was for a project that I spun up called the Mobile Mob, or Mobile. And it was supposed to be spun off separate as a separate entity, but I've just pulled it into ohmTown. Let's see, Rio cancels Carnival, but keeps the street parade. And of course, it's because of Omicron. This will probably be haunting us for quite some time. And now there's another variant that was found in France. We shall see if that expands as well. But Omicron is definitely highly infectious. At-home testing prices at Walmart and Kroger are increasing, apparently after an agreement with the White House expired. It's kind of typical supply and demand. Unfortunately, in times where people are impassioned and worried, this can come across as being predatory, and I don't think that prices should increase simply because of demand for certain things. If it can be produced at X rate regardless, producing more doesn't necessarily cost more. The production is still there. Raising the prices does nothing but price out people that may be most impacted by the very illness that it's testing. So People who don't have the ability to afford the higher price will simply be sick, and then they end up in the emergency room, or they infect other people because they simply can state, I have no idea if I have it. I have to assume that I don't, even though my candles no longer smell like anything and my milkshake doesn't taste like anything. Berkeley Lights stock drops more than 25% following outlook. Again, I don't... Wow. This didn't ingest anything. Interesting. Berkeley Lights. That's never good. Looking for a new chief executive and forecast revenue below Wall Street estimates. The analyst surveyed by FactSet had forecast 90.8 million. The company expects a gain of 30% in revenue for 2022. And analysts had expected 123 million. But the company said it expects 2021 revenue between 84 and 84.5 million when analysts were surveyed at 90.8, and that directly translated into what apparently is 11.29% decline. And then it fell 26% after hours. That's always an interesting thing, that after hours trading can still impact the stock, but the general day has already stopped. Well, the people with the means will continue to keep on trading. Biden's January 6th push for unity may ring hollow in deeply divided nation. Yeah. Can exercise make you more creative? Yeah. I think so. If you exercise, you become less stressed for the time being, based on the endorphin rush from exercise. And when you are sedentary, when you are not exercising, you can sometimes ponder things more, but not necessarily in a way that is conducive to overcoming whatever it is that you are troubled by. And so you're not, the way that I relate this to people is that if you are worried about something, you stop learning, you stop everything. Your entire objective is to survive. You go into survival mode. And that's what we have always done as human beings. At the very core of our existence, we're still animals. And so we have that fight or flight response still. And so when we are no longer relaxed and adequately dealing with the issues of our life, we stop being creative. We stop being relaxed. We worry about only a few things, which is primarily the food, shelter, and how can I put it other than reproduction? I mean, it's the survival stuff of our species. And so we turn off everything else. So it's hard to be creative when you're worried about everything, and exercise allows you to get this rush and you feel good, and you might lose weight, or you're building muscle, or you're doing both at the same time. So you should definitely go for a walk or run on a treadmill or break out your rowing machine if you got one. You can get a really inexpensive one off of Amazon, and plop it in a corner of your room and just row, and I'll bet that you feel better on the other side of it, even if your muscles are sore. Our ability to benefit from that rush is not surprising once you know about it, but it surprises a lot of people when they go for a run or row or bike or something. So check this article out on the New York Times. Can exercise make you more creative? By Gretchen Reynolds. It was originally published on February 3rd, 2021, and then updated on February 5th, 2021. So give it a shot. You can follow the link from ohmTown on the Mobile group. There's just a lot about January 6th because it's tomorrow, and it was really a pivot point in American political history. Not that it hasn't happened similarly in history, it just hasn't been that big. Obviously we got more people, so obviously more people show up. What else is going on in this category? Boy Scouts $2.7 billion settlement plan at risk of failing. That is just a ton of money. Well, at any rate, this category, which is news, it will eventually turn into a nightly show called the Daily News Show. A little bit of irony there. But it's every night. It will be after other shows and much later than 6 o'clock. It's already 7 o'clock. And for whatever reason, the site acts weird with some of these menus. It drops it down behind the banner. And I still got to fix it, but I'm working on it. Okay, so right now I haven't fixed this because it's not pulling up everything that it's supposed to be pulling up. And it might be because I don't have everything being ingested into the right category. Like Smack Talk is actually a technology category, and Smack Talk is all about the Apple ecosystem. Although I'm ensconced in it, I am not, I guess, overly biased. I use Android, I use Windows, I use Apple products. I use Linux where it's appropriate, like my firewall is a Linux firewall. And I have a hardware firewall and software on each machine as a firewall. And just because of what I do, I I have all of this stuff leveraged to facilitate network protection and system protection. But at any rate, that's why you see Smack Talk under education, because it's ingesting into this and not necessarily in the right place. I still have to fix it. I haven't been able to. Chrysler to go all electric by 2028, starting with the airflow. Now, what is that? Oops. I clicked the wrong thing. Let's go check it out. Chrysler to go all electric by 2028, starting with the airflow in 2025. That's neat. Stellantis. Its parent company. Wait. Not much appeared to be happening at Chrysler in the past few years, though that's about to change. Its parent company, Stellantis, announced yesterday that Chrysler will become its Vanguard electric brand. Interesting. Yeah, the 300 is a popular sedan. I actually like it. It was one of the ones that I was looking at. It's, pardon me, it's a large car for me. So I drive a different car now, but I was actually looking at the 300, and but not the Pacifica. So it's a minivan. But I am actually looking at the Canoe, which is an all-electric minivan style, all-electric vehicle. I think is really cool looking. It's kind of like the all-electric VW bus, but it's not the VW bus. VW is actually coming out with its own all-electric VW bus, but they're not calling it the VW bus. Anyway, let's go past that. Anyway, the airflow is going to be powered by two 150 kilowatt electric motors, one for each axle. Well, I hope the battery is larger than a couple of 9 volts, but not a $25,000 battery like that 2013 Tesla Model S that somebody blew up with 66 pounds or 65 pounds of dynamite. Good on them for destroying a $45,000 2013 Tesla S, I guess. So this is a kind of good looking car. Stylish. Seems like it's almost crossover-ish. So I hope that more electric cars keep pushing and expand battery life. That's kind of the one thing that's really limiting me from purchasing an all day, every day, all electric vehicle. I just can't wait 30 minutes, 2 hours, however long it takes to charge. Now, by all accounts, you cannot charge an electric vehicle with your home voltage. You have to get what amounts to a supercharger in your house, and that's the only way that for me I could actually utilize an all electric car. Otherwise you have to drive somewhere. There's countless stories about people with gas cars parking at electric electric charging stations, just to spite those electric people, as if there's something fundamentally wrong with driving an electric car. I need to be able to pull in somewhere, the batteries get yeeted out of my car and a new battery pack put in, and it takes just as long as filling up my car at a gas pump. Until then, I don't think that it's ready for the general public. Early adopters will take advantage of anything. I'm even one of them, where I'm looking at it going, God, I really want an all electric car. I want a Tesla Model S. I want a Rivian. I want any all electric car. I think that they're awesome. They're quiet. They're fast off the line when it's all geared up right. I don't know. I just dig them, and they certainly can be the future. Although I have concerns about solar energy, wind energy, etc., in the grand scheme of things and global conflict. Ultimately, things like solar panels and wind power it's not defensible. It's just not defensible in a place that has conflict or in a time of conflict. Solar panels are not compatible with debris in the air, and anything can damage a solar panel and thus reduce or outright stop the flow of energy. And the same thing, an imbalance with a wind generator can cause it to destroy itself, and something like shooting the blade of a windmill can stop it from functioning. So obviously there are concerns, at least from that hypothetical. It may never come to fruition, right? We may never have a domestic conflict, and thus solar energy and wind energy and other green energy, renewable resources never are in jeopardy. But again, in my line of work, you think about every single possible outcome and plan for it. So let's hope that we get better batteries, and it's going to have to be in the form of some exotic material, because apparently ye old copper top battery is not going to do it. And lithium ion batteries are big, bulky, expensive. There's some research stuff that I've seen about upcoming battery technology, where the battery is, near a state of plasma. It's so hot, but it's encased in something that can withstand that heat. And because it's hot and the material within the battery, it produces electricity. And instead of having something cascade out of control, when the casing breaks or something like that, it actually cools off and shuts down energy production. That's pretty neat, versus plasma, some form of generator using plasma that when its field is broken, you have a complete meltdown of everything, and it's astronomically expensive, kind of like an MRI quench. Maybe I can find some of those articles and talk about them in the next stream, but we'll see. Walmart wants to buy 5,000 electric delivery vans from GM's BrightDrop. With autonomous driving and electric vehicles, you have the ability to remove drivers from the equation. And I think that it will be a very neat future where the freeway is operating at speeds, 120, 150 miles an hour, because everything is communicating in such a way as to optimize merging and exits and lane changes and reaching the destination. And, I can envision in the future people losing the ability to drive their cars because it's effortless. If we continue to even drive to work or anything like that, I see that future, and I think that it would be great. Just think of Minority Report, where the freeways are big and extremely fast, but they're powered by, or not really powered by, they're driven on by automated vehicles, and it's highly optimized. It's kind of a neat idea. Apple has Mac Minis on sale, I guess. MacBook Pro supply is constrained. More than the M1 Pro. If you've never looked into the M1 MacBooks, I've got one right here, MacBook Air, as a matter of fact. I didn't go with the Pro because like I said earlier, I'm an early adopter, so I got that MacBook Air quick. And it is quick, and it's reliable and instant on and does everything that I need. Wow, it's doing this weird ingesting thing again. I'll have to look into it and see what's going on. It shouldn't be doing that. At any rate, yeah, it's a pretty neat, and under the hood really is a Linux core kind of construction, but it isn't Linux, so not anymore. But it's reliable and it's seamless when you need to restore, and it's just so easy to own Apple stuff. But if you want to tweak things and noodle around with things, Android is definitely where you want to be. Even Windows is largely overwhelming in its complexity when you start digging under the hood until you're really well versed in it. And restoration and stuff like that on Windows isn't as easy. So if you are advising somebody to get X, Y, and Z product, consider the Apple product line, because it really is drop dead simple to utilize. And if you use cloud backup, then you can restore stuff from the cloud simply by connecting to any Wi-Fi that's within range and telling it to restore, if you have access to, an open access point. This will be troublesome for me because I have a lot of audiobooks, and if I pull one more thing into the Apple ecosystem, I might as well just move in. Anker showcases new 100 watt. Yes. Let me click that. Let's see what it has to say. So I really like Anker products. These are the cables that I buy. These are the chargers that I buy. I don't like Apple's cables, not even close. They're stiff, and when they're not stiff, they're discolored and breaking, and it's utterly frustrating, their cables. So I'm not a big fan of their cables, but Anker, on the other hand, they make some really nice cables, and anything that is a fast charger, I'm on board. Interesting. Wow, it's pricey. But I think that's kind of a beast of an item. So without getting into it, you should check out this article on 9 to 5 Toys. Anker showcases new 100 watt GAN charger, a GAN charger, first laser projector, and much more at CES 2022. I've watched a stream of some people at CES in Las Vegas. It's kind of crickets like over there right now because of COVID, and people bowed out. Hopefully the next CES will have a remedy so that more people can go and more booths are there. But we shall see. In fact, I just threw out a cable because the connector, it was a lightning cable, the connector broke, but it wasn't from Anker. Okay, so that's the education one, and I think that's it for today. If you have questions or comments, feel free to let me know. Happy to discuss things. I will be here tomorrow. I hazard to say bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 6, only because life tends to pull me away. But I am shooting for 6 o'clock. I will try and be here 5 minutes early to start my timer right here, starting, right? But I'm actually ending. But I'll come back and say hi and bye. And thank you for watching the VOD. I will eventually be submitting videos over to YouTube as well, just to see if the community is there as well. I'm more into the live thing. I really like just having a casual conversation, or even intense conversations with people who are interested in society and business and technology, and the ethics and legality of things. I tend to go down a rabbit hole on certain things, and so if you bear with me, we always come back to the core, the crux of the matter. Just seeing that Dune sound experts bring sci-fi realism to outer space makes me want to click it and just stay in here and continue this discussion, even though it's just me blabbing on for an hour and a half. But I'm going to fight that urge and just say thank you for watching the VOD. If you're in chat, thank you very much for sitting in chat and listening to me prattle on about my areas of interest, and hopefully yours too. And I will continue to stream every day and find my stride, and I hope that you come and chat with me. Okay, so thanks a bunch, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.